Hello and welcome back to IVF Daddies. I'm Richard Westoby and
I am Julio.
today we have new beginnings. We have a new background, which is amazing. This is London. This is home.
We're in London.
We're actually not in London. We're in Spain. As some of you know, I live in London. Julio lives in Spain. We travel between the two. So it's a lot of new beginnings. We have a new home. We moved, which was amazing. We have this great view. But also, not only that, we have a new website.
Yes, we not only just have a website, I think we just launched a revolution. It's more than just a website. We have the podcast, and a lot of people is bombarding us in like DMs or like the emails and personal email, like they're trying to find a way how to contact us. So we just created the ivfdaddies.com that has radical honesty. It has a section that I am very proud of, which is anonymous stories. You can just come in, tell your story. If you do not want to have your name, but you want us to talk about it, we can do it. You can see all our videos. You can have basically create a community, have companion, and we're gonna extend it with the goal of having multiple people, also multiple sources of information, multiple products to recommend to soothe and have this process for people that are doubting, or they're in the thick of it or at the end of it, how to regulate back to your normal emotional stability. And we're very, very proud. We just launched, so we're still gonna get back.
And for all of those who have sent us a DM and have not had a reply, there may be a challenge with Julio replying to messages. So sorry about that. He doesn't even reply to mine. So every so often we'll get I sent you this a month ago, can you? And we're like, oh my God.
Yeah, I get the award of the person that doesn't answer the WhatsApp.
But here we are, 6 seasons in, still able to talk about things. This is an evolving landscape. Every single week, something new happens. And I think one of the things that I wanted to touch base on today was there are a few things that aren't so great, and there are some really good things. Realistically, what we're seeing in Europe, at least, is a move against surrogacy. In effect, there is the exploitation of women argument, which is very valid when it's true. We have the Italian government putting in a €1 million fine for people going through surrogacy anywhere in the world. We have the Spanish government changing the interpretation of a law. They haven't changed the law.
Because they couldn't, not because they didn't want to.
Right. They wanted to, and they're going to keep trying to do it. But in effect, they've changed the interpretation, which makes it harder for Spanish citizens to be recognized as parents.
And when it comes to Spanish citizens, meaning same-sex marriage.
Well, or anybody going through surrogacy.
Yeah, but you know that, like, well, I mean, that's a question that I've always had. If you're a heteronormative male-female couple through surrogacy, and then you go to an airport and then you have a baby, they would assume, oh, you're the woman, the baby's yours, no problem, not checking papers.
Yeah, in essence, that's what can happen. You just happen to be traveling pregnant and had a baby. But if you're two men, it's pretty obvious that one of you didn't have a baby, and therefore you must have gone through a surrogacy process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember once talking to an Italian patient, a female patient, who wore a prosthetic belly so that people in her family didn't know she went through surrogacy.
It started to ring. Okay, so I'm going to just circle back and say the aspect of, because we were talking about the negative things that have happened in Europe. We went to Brussels and we had a conference there. And I went there to record and interview lawyers, interview people, everybody that could give me information. And then we got the medical inspection, I don't know, whomever. Some people, part of the government, to the IVF and surrogacy conference to block things like genetic testing, like same-sex marriage. I don't know whether we're blocking surrogacy. Some in Brussels, a lot of things.
Yeah, you didn't really explain that very well.
No, that's the whole point why you're here.
Are you more me or more him?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So what happened was we were at an IVF fertility conference in Brussels, and the rules in Belgium are very clear. You're not allowed to talk about things like sex selection. You are allowed to talk about IVF. And so this conference was happening, and the Ministry of Health sent in 3 different groups of people to make sure that you weren't talking about the things you weren't allowed to talk about. And on some of the, those roll-up banners that people have, they had put on, there was an American clinic that had said, we can do sex selection. Cover that up. It's illegal in this country. But the thing is, the organizers of that conference had said, don't talk about this, don't talk about this. And what happened? We're going to ignore you, we're going to do it.
Yeah, but the place had more duct tape than a drag queen.
Right.
Do you know?
But we interviewed a drag queen.
Do you know why drag queens wear duct tape? Talk. And we interviewed a RuPaul Drag Race contestant.
Exciting. Can't wait for that one to come out.
Yeah, me neither. But then also one of the things that have coming up, so we have things like that, and then a lot of things I've heard a lot people saying about Argentina, Mexico. So what is the problem or non-problem there?
Well, again, I think it comes into whether or not there are legal protections in place. And I know it's a really heavy topic, but for example, I've been talking to an Australian guy that I know who is currently stuck in Argentina and can't leave. He's been there since February, so 5 months, because he can't get a birth certificate. Because the people that sold him his dream were like, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. And then when he actually got there and started doing the process, they missed a step. Unbeknownst to him, and now he's stuck and can't get a birth certificate, can't leave. So it's a problem.
So and what does that mean? Does he have to go to the consulate? Does he have to
So the challenge is it's not about going to the consulate to be recognized. It's about going through the process, making sure that you're legally recognized in Argentina, and they're saying you can't do it because the process wasn't adhered to, it wasn't done properly. And so that for me is a challenge.
Okay.
I'm getting it's actually, he's a friend and was given bad advice because anyway.
I mean, no, but we have to come to the point why this is happening. This is not happening just because randomly he was giving bad advice. We're comparing $200,000 baby in America versus how much in Argentina.
About half.
Radical honesty.
Yeah. So it's cheaper to go through that whole process. Yes, he has a baby, but now the question that I always have is, now what? Because there's a cost benefit analysis to everything. You can sit there and go, this is what the cost is going to be. These are the risks. This is what potentially could happen. Is it going to happen to me? I don't know. When I'm talking about things as a statistic, I'm looking at 500 people a year doing this. So when I have a statistic, it's that. But when it happens to you, it's either it happens or it doesn't. It's binary. It's yes or no. And so whenever I'm talking to people about, you can do this, you can do that. Okay, well, in my experience, X, Y, Z, it's a very different story. Whenever you're going through this process, you need to sit there and go, what is my risk appetite, my tolerance to this happening? If I don't want it to happen, then you got to think, okay, maybe I need to look at the United States. Maybe I need to think this is going to cost me $200,000. Maybe. Or maybe it's not going to happen. But that's coming it from here.
Okay, so you're saying you're talking about the way I'm listening to what you're saying is these are the options. And these are the options that will be forever. And to me, it's like, wait a second. If Argentina and Mexico or whatever, they're doing it for half the price, and Europe has all these laws, and then the United States is the gold standard, like we all know. Is there any way that we can do contact, reach, or create a list, vote for the medicine in the United States to be sponsored, like these people, like the tennis player? What was the story about the tennis players?
Well, and this is the thing. So we've kind of touched on a lot of the negative things happening, but actually at the same time, there's always this yin and yang, right? At the same time, the Women's Tennis Association have said that any woman that is within the top 750 ranking can take time off for egg freezing or embryo creation, and I think it's for up to 10 weeks, and that's not going to affect their ranking. So by doing that, they are in effect saying to professional sportswomen, go do this. We recognize that this is, you're at your prime, this is a good thing for you to be doing to give you the potential in the future. We're not going to penalize you. Go do it.
So how do we, that gives me hope that there's somewhere that we can go and poke people to make medication insurance covered, or I don't know, get people when you go to school and somebody pays your
bursaries or scholarships,
like a scholarship, or like a baby, not a baby ship,
and not a baby ship.
But no, but if somebody can do for certain conditions, that the government will cover your medicine for the medication for IVF.
It happens in certain countries, like Australia. It happens. The government rebates you, gives you money back. You go through the process, and it will rebate you a certain amount of money, right? So there are governments that do it. I just think in the United States that's not happening, and that feeds into the cost of the US. It's expensive, and that's just something that people have to, and it sucks, but people have to go, okay, this is the choice that I'm making, and this is what I'm going to.
So let's break something down. Who needs medicine and who doesn't? Because we have IVF, surrogacy, we have sperm, egg, we have sperm donors, and we have people getting their own we have egg donor, sperm donor, people getting their own sperm or their own eggs, creating their embryos. Who needs medicine pre, during, post, and who doesn't?
So the reality is the medicine is targeted at the women, because men don't need medicine to provide sperm.
Can we just specify that the medicine is provided to the individual with the female reproductive organs or something like that?
Sure. But that's fine. I'm just saying the female is the one that's going to be...
Well, I mean, in the trans community, you can be a woman having male reproductive organs. I mean, we're both learning. The whole point of this is...
I totally understand that. I now need to reframe how I was going to say it. But basically, so in this process, the person that is going to carry the baby, has the uterus, needs medication to get the uterus lining to where it needs to be, and then needs to take medications for the first 3 months of that pregnancy and around, so a lot. The person who is providing the eggs will need to take medications, because generally the body only produces, say, 20, 25, but it will select one of those, and only one of those will be ovulated in a natural cycle.
Rewind. The person that is carrying the embryo needs medication. So surrogacy, the surrogate needs medication.
The surrogate will inject for about 4 months medication.
That's news to me.
Yeah, and it's painful. But so sperm production, the sperm provider does not need medications unless the sperm quality isn't great. And what's going to happen is you're going to take medications like the Phytofix medication that we've been talking about before, or anything that's going to help the production of sperm. But they're not going to need to take injections or anything like that to produce the sperm. That's just masturbation and then a production of sperm. So from that perspective, very little medication is required.
So the person that is going to get the egg and the person that's going to carry the embryo, they need medication. So
correct.
If it's two same-sex male couple, they need to pay for the medication of the person that is donating the egg and the person that is going to carry the embryo.
The egg donor and the surrogate.
So, wow. Is there any... No, you cannot bring medication from...
Well, actually, you can.
Can I go to Mexico, buy medication, come to the US and use it?
If your IVF clinic is okay with that, then yeah. Because what happens, for example, and this happens with patients of mine from Australia, they get the medications rebated. They get money, they pay for it, and they get the money back from Social Security. Or from Europe, you go to your doctor, they prescribe you the medications, and Social Security pays for it. So this is a woman or a person that is providing eggs, for example, and she's starting a process at home because it's 2 weeks of injections. So the first week of injections is at home, and the second week of injections is in the United States, right? Because that person could provide the eggs, and then a surrogate's going to carry. They can absolutely buy that medication at home for a fraction of the price that they're paying in the United States. Bring it with them, and then top it up if they need to in the US. But yeah, that happens a lot.
So ask us all the questions you need how to do that, and we'll find out a way to get the process cost less. Because the last thing we want is for you to get stuck in a country that is not yours and that you don't know how to get out with your baby back to your own country. And I think that would be a nightmare. I mean, Argentina is not that bad. At least the economy there it's cheaper and it's not bad to leave. But if it happens in countries that are less fortunate or the doctors are less reliable, it will be a nightmare. And I think it will be a lot easier to find ways to subsidize or just reduce the cost of the medication.
But the medication is a fraction of the whole process. That's the thing. The whole process needs to be looked at. But again, it's like, who are we to say to a surrogate, you want compensation of X, Y, or Z? I mean, that's their choice. And frankly, if you break that down hour by hour, they're not making a lot of money.
Well, no, yeah, but you make the decision. Like, you don't have a choice on getting egg retrieval without medication. Like, you choose to pay the surrogate.
Yeah, but I'm not following.
So you can find a family friend member to be a surrogate.
Of course.
You can pay ultimate price of surrogacy. You choose. You have optionality. In medication, yes or no. Like, you cannot retrieve eggs without medication.
But I think what you're saying, I'm going to put it in words that might be slightly different. That's like going to a wedding shop and saying, I'm going to spend $100,000 on the gown, but I need to save money on the veil because the veil's costing me $2,000. I only want to pay $1,500. Right? So the veil is costing you, the veil is the smallest part of the whole thing and it's going to cost you this. It's the dress that needs to come down in price.
Or the prenup.
Prenup, Lauren Sanchez.
Okay. I mean,
so that's the thing. The whole thing needs to be looked at. Why are people going abroad? Why are they going abroad to do this? Because at home they can't. At home there are rules being put in place to penalize people for their desire of having a family. I mean, the one good thing that Italy did do was recognizing 2 women on birth certificates now if they've gone through IVF, which is great. But if you're Italy have criminalized surrogacy.
Not IVF.
Not IVF. You can still do IVF. And if you have 2 women who've gone through it, so say you're a couple and I have eggs and you have the uterus, I give my eggs, we go through IVF, you carry, we can both be on the birth certificate. So to me, that is de facto homophobia, going against same-sex men going through surrogacy. But women are being recognized on birth certificates.
Okay. I mean, at least like
something, silver lining.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. But the point being, if you've got a country that is criminalizing and penalizing, then either you're going to go underground and do it in a dodgy place and not be able to do it, or you're going to go, where can I do this internationally? And then you've got your selection, starting with the United States at the top, going all the way down to, well, we had a big thing a few years ago with people going to Greece. There was a scandal in Greece, human trafficking. Now, of course, the Greek laws have come in and said you can only do surrogacy if you're married, straight, Greek. So again, they're penalizing. We wouldn't be able to do it, for example, in Greece.
And then the other part is because, you could have the advantages of having places that have cheaper medication, but then you're not allowed to do gender of the embryos.
Sex
selection. Which are those countries?
Well, you can do surrogacy in England, right? You can do IVF and surrogacy in England, but you're not allowed to do sex selection unless it's for a medical reason.
Can you ping pong the embryo? Like, you have it in this country, you send it there for the sex selection, and then you bring it back.
The reality is, if, for example, I made embryos in the UK, sent them to the United States for sex selection and decided I want a girl, and then sent back the female embryos to the UK, that would be a problem because the clinic in the UK would be risking their license in sending and receiving. But I mean, it happens.
Why?
Because it's against the law in England to do sex selection.
But you're not doing it in England.
But you know exactly what you're doing. And they know what you're doing.
That is, for example, tonka beans are legal in Spain but illegal in the US. So if you come to Spain, you eat tonka beans, and then you go to the US, you didn't do illegal things. So I don't...
But if you buy tonka beans in Spain and take them to the United States...
If there's a law that says you're not allowed to bring seeds to the UK, to the US, but if you're allowed to bring embryos...
That's exactly what I've just said.
So they're not allowed to transfer embryos?
They're not allowed to use embryos that are for sex. You're not allowed to go through sex selection in the States, in the United Kingdom.
No, but it's allowed... Transfer of embryo from country to country is allowed?
Yes.
How do they know that they did sex selection?
Because they're not stupid.
The embryo is not going to say anything.
Are you more Julio or are you more me? because this drives me up the wall sometimes.
This is the reason why I educate myself in a public platform, just in case.
I can't lose my temper.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's a lot of negatives going on there, but there are some amazing positives. And I think really, if we look at the Women's Tennis Association, I applaud them. I think arguably the first group association to say, we are going to empower you to be able to do this and not penalize you. I don't understand why the Women's Golf Association, why any sport is not doing that. Actually, I don't understand why any
Do you think they're doing it because people are playing paddle and not tennis, and they're just trying to reel them back?
But you never know. Yeah. What do you think? Is it because paddle is better than tennis, or tennis is better than paddle?
So the moral of today's episode is traveling through Europe, Barcelona, Spain, Brussels, and see the ups and downs and the block, and like experience firsthand, get the bubble burst by like people coming to the conference and like duct taping things is like,
yeah, it's brutal, because we always see the positive in things, and we always want our viewers and listeners to be able to say wow and walk away with their dreams becoming a reality. The reality is sometimes people are going to put things in front of you to try and stop that, and you just have to keep on going. And we will support you wherever we can. And the new beginning of our website is exactly to be able to do that. Anonymous confessions. What happened to you that you didn't like? Where can we help? How can we be there for you? And, listening to our podcast, liking our podcast, going to the website, signing up for the newsletters. These are things that can really start to make an impact, because the more people that do, the more power we're going to be able to have to go to these people. We can go to the Women's Paddle Association and say, why are you not doing this? You have all these people that are asking for it and you're just refusing to. Like, I think that is we are tiny little people on this huge planet, but if we can make the difference for one person.
Have you ever gone to bed with a mosquito in the room?
Oh.
So we can definitely make a change.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Like, subscribe, fast forward, I don't even know, whatever. Just go and check out the new website. He did it all. So DM me if there are any mistakes. I'll never answer.
Especially in the grammar. I know there's many mistakes in the grammar, but the important part is there. The companionship, the intimacy, the I'm not alone, the community, the infrastructure, and suggestions. Like if you think there's a plugin or a section or a page that I can add on just to make people feel more at ease, like bring it on. I'm willing to do it.
Brilliant. Thank you for listening.